Today I visit with Faith Bemiss of Sedalia, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick J., and this is Spotlight on the Arts. Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts, supported by many art entertainers, what have you, musicians, enthusiasts, period. Coming to you today from the Bemiss building in Sedalia, Missouri. Please join me, if you would, in welcoming Faith Bemiss, who is a local journalist and photographer, talented. So welcome, Faith.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great, great. If you would now, Faith, if I may call you by your first name, it's been a while since we've made the acquaintance, so please share with the viewers a little bit about Faith Bemiss, if you would.
Yes, I was born here in Sedalia, Missouri in 1961. I've lived here all of my life. I have a husband, Roy, and 3 children, Melissa, Chris, and Robbie, who grew up here also. So basically, I guess you could say I've been a Sedalia resident all my life and got into photography and journalism a little late in life.
I see. Made that decision. Well, then you must share with us how you became inspired to become a journalist, photographer. What moved you towards the field of photography and journalism?
Yes, in 1986 I purchased a very good camera and began taking photographs. And people began to say, you need to do this professionally and get into magazines. So I pursued a freelance career for several years, doing garden photography and getting on the covers of many different garden magazines across the country, national magazines. And then I also began submitting work to the local Sedalia Democrat newspaper and began to write for them as a freelancer, doing travel articles. And then for about 16 years, I was the freelance food writer and got to know a lot of people in the food industry and just local cooks with my twice-a-month column. And then about 8 years ago, I was hired full-time, and I've become the arts and entertainment reporter and taken on a whole new venue with the Sedalia Democrat, with my writing and my photography.
Excellent. So you took both talents and combined them and making a career. And I know people have followed your articles faithfully. The pun, Faith, I guess.
Yes.
Well, what then continues you to inspire you as a journalist and photographer?
I think what inspires me the most is the people. I get to meet so many interesting people in the community. I remember when I was in high school, we took this test to see what we would like to go into when we graduated in college. And I checked off so many things. I'm sure I frustrated my teachers. Everything from being a florist to an astronomer to a doctor to an artist, an art gallery owner. And I think what it was as a journalist, you can tell those stories of other people. And that's what I enjoy. I've interviewed entertainers by phone. I've interviewed an astronomer. I've interviewed a doctor who was working on a COVID cure. I could never do those things myself, Rick.
I see.
But I can write about them and I can learn about them.
Oh, yes.
And tell those people's stories and take their picture and tell their picture through, tell their story through pictures and words. And that's what I love about journalism.
Oh, yes. Well, I guess we sort of share that blessing where we are fortunate to interview many people in different fields of art, entertainment, what have you. So I can share that feeling and how rewarding it is. Even today, I know Faith and I have been trying to do the interview. First time was scare on the COVID-19. The next time it snowed us out, I believe.
Yes.
And the third time she actually did come
I did
down
have COVID.
with COVID, and so she is recovering, or hopefully somewhat recovered
Yes.
from the COVID, and now finally together, and so I'm really happy. She's quite a talented person with her writing skills and also her photography, and I'm going to share a lot of those photos that she's made available on the timeline as we do the interview today. Can you share with the viewers how you come up with the ideas for your fantastic shots, or they're just lucky incidents?
Well, sometimes it's just, if you're talking about my fine art photography, and even journalism, sometimes it's just luck. The right lighting, the right happenstance. With the fine art, whenever I do fine art photography, and I used to go hiking out west and get landscapes and photos like that. You have to know and research what time of day is best to be in that certain area, and when the lighting is best. And as for like Utah, they have a monsoon season, so when you're in a slot canyon, you need to make sure that you're not there during monsoon when you could drown.
Drown, yes.
You have to do some research to get a good shot, and then it depends on the light and the weather. With journalism, I was lucky enough to win an award for a photo I took of a woman who was in the Navy who was reunited with her little children. And someone tipped me off about that story. She was coming to the fair and going to surprise her children. And it was just the right moment when she bent down to hug them that I snapped the photo. So sometimes you don't really know. It's luck, and sometimes it's research, and just having an eye for when it's the right time to click the shutter.
I see. Well, now I'd like to again recognize you for your talents of photography, and we want to talk about some of your favorites. Your job offers you those opportunities, and by happenstance, that's a good way to describe it. But your passion is tied with your profession. How did that really come about? Did they come for you after seeing your newspaper, should we say magazine prints, or did you seek the job out with the Sedalia Democrat?
Well, I first started off as a freelancer, like I said, with doing travel articles. And then that moved into doing a food column twice a month. But the staff photographer took the food photos, so I didn't shoot those. But they were aware of my fine art and my, I don't know if you call it talents, because I'd had shows locally and nationally. And so they were aware of that. And I think maybe that was, that maybe helped whenever a position was open full-time in the Sedalia Democrat. I asked if I could fill that position, and I was granted that choice.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
The newspaper is, again, noted for their coverage and some of the greatest stories and writings, shall we say. Well, you paint like myself. You sort of shoot and do your job from the heart. So can you share with us some of those that are your favorites?
The Neon Diner, that was one of my favorites. It ended up being in a show at Farmington, New Mexico. And the museum out there actually purchased it. It was a purchase award. So it does hang out there in Farmington, New Mexico, in the Farmington, New Mexico Museum, Art Museum. And a smaller version of that was sent to an art show, a national art show in North Carolina, and it was also purchased by Ramel Pulitzer, who her and her husband are related to Joseph Pulitzer. So that is that is one of my very favorites, especially since it was purchased twice and hangs in museums.
Yes.
And another one I did mention was, I think, a journalism photo of the Navy mother and her children. That one won an award. I believe it was with the Associated Press.
I see. Well, you have some great landscape shots too. I know one sunset. I love to do paintings of sunsets, and so that caught my eye.
Was it a sunset of the sea? Like
you have a sunset of the sea, and also you have one of the Missouri skies.
Yes, yes. That one was one of my favorites. We were trying to actually go out and get a photograph. There was a comet in the sky. And so we were trying to find a very dark place. And we were driving and we saw this barn and just this little driveway, and we stopped and the sun was setting, and actually you can't really see the comet, but that's okay because the photograph turned out very nice with the trees and the sunset, and it was just a great moment of just a beautiful Missouri sky. And if you look really close, you'll see the comet streaking toward the bottom left, or bottom right.
Well, now you also love to do nature scenes,
Yes.
Butterflies, bees, I believe.
Yes, yes. I think one particular bee was on a purple type plant.
Yes.
Yes, and that was actually done for the Democrat as what we call, we do centerpiece art every day, and sometimes that's art that accompanies a story, and it's usually top of the fold and on the front page. This particular day, there wasn't actually a story, but I did a series of photos of just bees and flowers that were blooming in the springtime in Sedalia. And I captured the movement of I stopped the action of an actual, I believe it was a bumblebee that was flying on a plant, and that was at the Missouri State Fairgrounds.
I see.
So, yes.
And how about hummingbirds? Everyone seems to do hummingbirds.
I've never been successful with hummingbirds. I tried early on, but I think you have to have special lights to stop the action. And I haven't tried hummingbirds, but that is something I would like to try again, now that I have a camera that's probably capable of doing that.
Well, I'll give you that challenge.
Okay. Next time you see
we
me,
visit,
I will.
maybe we'll have a
Yes, and I'm going to try to set up some hummingbird feeders to do that.
Now, is there one photo that really touches your heart, that family maybe that you've taken a photo of at some time in your life or their life that you'd like to talk about?
I think the one that touches me the most is the Navy mom.
I see, yes.
And that really touched me. And actually, that one was picked up by People magazine.
Oh, excellent, yes.
They saw it and they did a small story on her and actually paid me to run the photo in their magazine. But that was a very touching moment. I mean, I always enjoy capturing family moments or moments of people in the community where you see photos where it brings out their personality and tells their stories.
That photo does give, like, is Mom coming home or is she leaving to do duty for her country, the United States? So
yeah,
I picked up on that really fast also. I love that shot. Well, Faith, we must take a break, so hang loose for a few seconds. When we come back, Faith shares more about her photography and her life as a journalist here in Sedalia, Missouri, and I'm sure her journalism takes her elsewhere. So her choice of cameras she will share with you, her subject matter, how it has changed or may change, and the process of planning maybe a shoot, and then how she puts on those final touches. So stay with us. We'll be right back. There's a lot more here on Spotlight on the Arts.
Do you have a problem with your friends driving recklessly? With your friends endangering your life? I'm here to tell you that reckless driving is the #1 cause of teenage deaths. But with new and improved Slow Down, you don't have to die.
He's right. We should slow down.
In the real world, there is no spokesperson to prevent reckless driving. There's only you. Speak up.
Kim, pay attention.
Welcome back to Spotlight on the Arts. Join me now as we continue our discussion with Faith Bemiss, photographer, journalist from Sedalia, Missouri. Well, welcome back also, Faith.
Thank you, Rick.
You shared a lot in the first segment, and I've surely gained the attention of our viewers here under the spotlight. Your work is so outstanding and warming. We want to learn more. Well, so before getting into the mix of things, you might say, the technical end of it, please share with us any acknowledgments that you've received as a result of the photography, as a journalist with the Democrat, the Sedalia Democrat, or any associated entities. I know we talked briefly about them, but you can cover them again if you would like to, just to
Sure.
focus this.
Over several years, I did have fine art photography that was in national shows all over the United States, like Palm Springs, California, South by San Diego. There was a show out there, several like on the East Coast. And as I got busier, I moved away from actually doing fine art shows and got more into the journalism aspect of the field. And journalism-wise, the Democrat always submits to the Missouri Press Association each year, the Associated Press contests, and also the Kansas City Press Association. We usually try to submit to those contests, and I've won many, I guess you could say, first place awards with those different associations, plus second place and honorable mention. Since last year, the Kansas City Press Association has disbanded, which made me sad because I really enjoyed submitting to that particular contest and seemed to do well. But we still have the Associated Press and the Missouri Press Association, which is very prestigious. So over time, those are the ones I've, won awards with and done well with.
Now, we first met at a meeting of the Sedalia Visual Arts Association. So I know you're active.
Yes.
Did you ever participate in their local shows?
Yes, I have participated in the Sedalia Visual Art Association shows, and I've had a couple shows, I'm pretty sure, at the City Hall here in the municipal building here in Sedalia, through the Sedalia Visual Art Association.
Well, the state fair is always a big hit with the
Yes.
state of Missouri and Sedalia.
Yes.
Have you ever had the opportunity to enter a piece of work?
Yes, I have. I've had several pieces in the top 50, the Missouri State Fair top 50 show that's upstairs. And one particular piece I really like is of an Asian woman eating a piece of fruit that was taken on a pier near Los Angeles. And she has a pair of glasses on, but one of the lenses is missing, and I just love that photo, and I think it won something in that show, but I just love that photo because it tells a story. We don't know what the story actually is, we could make it up, but that's one of my favorite pieces. And then I believe the last time I was in a show, that would have been 2019, my piece won an honorable mention in that show.
I see. Well, congratulations on the top 50. I felt honored somewhat to be part of the top 50 a couple of years ago. So that is quite an accomplishment. I think it kind of endorses us for our skills or talent at that point. So congratulations. Now, the process you go through to complete a project, I know you have to start somewhere. So for those interested in maybe starting somewhat of a career or should we say, hobby in photography, can you give them an idea how you basically start?
Well,
with an assignment from the newspaper, or or do you go ahead and say, well, I'd love to take a shot of that?
Well, are you talking about how to get started in general, or how do I start an assignment for the newspaper?
I'd say in general, how it becomes an assignment,
sure.
And then how it's completed.
Well, when I first started, I was freelance, and I like I mentioned, I bought a camera, a 35 millimeter SLR, where you could switch the lenses out and begin to take photos, and different people begin to compliment me. they told me, you need to try to get in magazines, and they told me to go pick up a photographer's market book, which I'm not sure how relevant that is today, but for me, that's how I got started. I was able to look through the book and choose magazines that would suit my style, and I began to shoot photos that would go toward that style, which were horticulture photos.
I see.
And at that time, it was color slide film, and I purchased professional colored slide film. Fuji Velvia is what it was called, and it was like a very saturated color slide film. And so that's how I got started. I would say for a beginner, if you enjoy photography, the more you do it, the better you get. Do a lot of reading, ask a lot of questions. That's what I did. I asked questions of professionals as well as just people who liked to do photography, who were friends. Right. And the more questions you ask, the better. And of course, with the internet as it is nowadays, you could do a lot of research on the internet and find out all kinds of ways to do things. I know when I started doing sky photography or night sky photography, I taught a class on that at State Fair College. I did a lot of research on how to set up the tripod, how long for exposure, and things like that. So, it's being inquisitive, having an inquisitive mind, and shooting.
Nice
doing
way
a
of
lot
putting
of
it,
shooting.
yes. Well, in modern day now, there's so many excellent shots we see on media using a cell phone.
Yes, yes.
I'm sure you possibly get a good shot once in a while with your cell, but
Yes.
what type of equipment do you really,
Well,
your camera?
Yeah, I use a Nikon D810, and it's a SLR where you can change the lenses and put any type of lens on. My favorite lens to use a lot of times is a 24 millimeter to 120 millimeter. My second one is a 70 to 300 zoom. And I use these probably all the time for so many of my photography assignments for the Study Democrat. And even out just for nature. I do have a Gitzo tripod that I take out to do landscapes and night sky photography with. It has a ball release, and which makes it easy to move the camera off the tripod very quickly. So I don't use that as much for journalism as I do for fine art.
Now, once you have those, I guess you shoot digitally
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Once you have that, do you do your own downloading, uploading, touching,
Right.
touch-ups?
I do. We have Photoshop at the Democrat, and I don't do a lot of Photoshop because it's journalism and you're not supposed to digitally manipulate everything. It's supposed to be a true shot.
Yeah.
But what I basically do is I download that into Photoshop. Well, first I download it onto the laptop and put it in a file. Let's say if it's Boy Scouts, I would label that, the date, and then I would choose my photographs. I would go through them all and I would start picking out the best ones, which usually I choose about 4. Then I would put those 4 into Photoshop. If they needed to be lightened a little bit, I would lighten them, because to me, digital photography, once you get it on the screen, sometimes tends to be a little darker than what it looks like on the camera. And when it goes to print on newsprint, it's going to print darker, so it needs to be lightened. So I lighten it, I sharpen it a little bit, because newsprint also makes it a little soft.
Yes.
And basically that's about all I do. I turn it to a CMYK for printing, and I may reduce the size a little. And that's about all I really do for something like journalism. Now, if it's something that's fine art, I may do a lot of tweaking or manipulation or changing or layering. It just depends on what kind of effect I want to achieve.
A lot of the art associations are allowing the digital,
Yes.
manipulated, I call it,
Right.
photos. Well, things have changed a lot.
Yes, they
Since I came up with my first working with the celluloids and the different baths to get a final print, but I did take that little course, and we had the chemicals around the house, which wasn't the greatest thing to be around, but still, again, things have changed a lot in the photography. I guess, thank goodness, and it's some modern day technology.
Might be safer.
Well, Faith, I must ask you with this that we've presented to everyone in the world that does follow the YouTube TV shows, CenturyLink and what have you. I'm sure you do commission work. Would you like to give contact information if you do
Sure.
accept commissions?
Sure. I have Facebook, Faith Bemiss Photography Facebook. They can find me on Facebook.
Yes.
I can be found at the Sedalia Democrat at fbemis at sedaliademocrat.com. They can contact me that way.
Super, yes.
I also have a Twitter account. I think it's FLBemis, at FLBemis. And I have Instagram. I think that's just Faith Bemiss.
This is hard to keep up with them, that's for sure. Okay, well, very good. Well, before we close, can you, finally, could you share with the viewers, if they're worldwide in China, India, Brazil, whatever, how would you, what would you say to encourage them to take up the camera, even the cell phone, and start just having fun?
Worldwide?
Worldwide, I guess.
Take up your cell phone. I mean, photography is everywhere. I mean, art is everywhere. You can make art out of the smallest thing, like a group of pebbles or a flower with a sunset behind it. Whatever your proclivity is, whatever your idea that you like, whether it's wildlife or landscape or people, that's all around you. Never stop. Pick up even your cell phone. If you don't have, a professional camera, cell phone's great. You can still capture great images. Don't let that stop you. Just shoot away.
Well, they used to make an Instamatic. Are those still around? And we go by and it's a little Insta.
I'm not sure.
Instamatic, and you have a camera with a film, and then you take your shots, take it into Walmart or what have you.
I'm not really sure.
Not either. You have to check into that.
I think they still have those ones you can buy where it's the instant where you shoot it and it comes out and you dry it. And
oh, I see.
Is that a
Polaroids?
Yes.
I just had a friend in California State sent me some Polaroids.
Yeah.
I said, "Where did you get that Polaroid?" Well, I've had it since the 1960s, so they're still looking great.
Yes.
Well, Faith, we're just about out of time, so I want to thank you so much for contributing to Spotlight on the Arts,
You're
making it really a learning and educational experience for all. So, did you have any closing words, Faith?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate you having me here today. It's been exciting and fun, and talking about my work.
We've been looking forward to it. So now we have it.
Yes.
Under the lights and before the cameras. Thank you again so much. Well, my thanks goes out to the Lamey's building and cameraman Jeremy Woodall Cash, and also Andre Exelis for assisting today and giving advice. And I want to thank naturally the viewers for watching Spotlight on the Arts. I'm so happy to hear most of you are enjoying it from the responses on social media, etc. So, see you next time here on Spotlight on the Arts. And don't forget to check out YouTube Rick J. See you next time.
you